out for a ride in my Voge 300 Rally. A bit of a wind today, so I hope my Fuzzy Cat wind protector on the mic works. And yeah, the camera's shaking a bit. Anyway, I've recently done quite a bit of work on it, given it a bit of an overhaul and just changed the chain and sprockets. Now this video, I'm going through every bit stage by stage, how it went on this bike for me. My history is with shaft drive bikes. I mean, when I passed my test, I went straight to a CX500, Honda CX500, which was a shaft drive, and I stayed with shaft drive big bikes until about 6 years ago, when I got my first dirt bike, an AJP PR5 250, and I never changed the chain and sprocket on that. All the maintenance I've had done on bikes has been by taking them back to the garage and letting other people do it. That's my history. So I decided on this bike to do a lot myself, because I'm actually enjoying the process of learning as well. I'm not a motorcycle mechanic. I have aircraft engineering experience, and I've did a part-time job in a garage when I was a young lad. So you know, I can do nuts and bolts and stuff, but I've learnt a lot during the process of this working on this bike, and I've found a few interesting things about along the way. So yeah, it's step by step, and I hope if you've got a bike this particular model and are thinking of doing your chain and sprockets, this may be helpful to you. Or if you just want to see, you know, how it goes for me on this motorcycle for my first ever chain and sprocket change, then hope this video will be of interest to you. Remember, before you start work on grease and oils and anything that can damage your skin and get into your internal organs through absorption, then protect your hands. I use a barrier cream rather than gloves. Personal choice. So the next thing to do, I want to loosen the front sprocket nut, and that means locking the rear wheel before I just take the chain apart, because you need the drivetrain to loosen the wheel. Loosen the nut, I should say. And it's locked in with a tab washer, which is bent in on two sides here. But look what I've just found here. That's the nut. And it's already loose. This tab washer's only holding it on. So we've got to bend this tab washer back with a tapping tool, and a screwdriver will do, or a punch. So I started off with a screwdriver, and now I've reverted to a chisel. So I've not done anything except this. I haven't had to lock the rear wheel, it's in gear, and that nut coming straight off. To me, I would have thought that's a bit loose. Before I do that, I'm going to remove this cover here, just to make it easier for access. So fit the chain breaker tool on a link. And wind it in, a bit at a time. There we are. Just turn it in until it's fully through. And there we are. One pin out, and that's the chain. Now, the next step. Put it out of gear and pull that chain off. Next thing, get this sprocket off, and look. There is your tab washer, which you should never reuse, but I don't have another one. But you should never reuse the same parts, so I'm going to have to reuse it using different sides to lock the nut when I put it back on. And there's the sprocket. And as we can see, I think it's ready to be changed. Definitely all the wear here. Now I couldn't get a 14 tooth sprocket. Would have had to wait a while. So I've got a 15 tooth. Now I've heard these make it a bit better on the longer, straighter roads. Slightly bigger diameter. One more tooth, and we'll see how we get on with that. But before I fit it, of course, and you can clearly see the diameter is different, but also the wear is amazing. So yeah, time to change it without a doubt. Before I fit it, I'm going to clean all around here, give it a good clean out. So WD-40 is good for this, and a good stiff. This is a chain cleaning brush with the other end nice stiff bristles on there. Get in there, get it all out. I mean, it doesn't get. I've never done this before, and all the time I've had it because that sprocket's been on there. Can't get to the back of it like this. So let's give it a good clean out. Then give it a wipe off with a cloth to make sure it's all gone. Just a nice thought, isn't it? Putting it all back onto clean components. It'll take a couple of years to get that bad again. Now I didn't know what torque setting to put back on this nut because I don't like the idea of it being loose on there like it was. So I measured it, the thread, and it's actually 20 mil. So I asked AI, ChatGPT, what torque setting it should be, and this is what it came up with. Just to confirm what side of sprocket, you put the sprocket on, the flush side goes to the rear. So let's torque this to 85 Newton meters. Look at that. And it's tight now. And now, just got to tap the tab washer in on the areas on both sides which haven't actually been bent before. You can start with a screwdriver. Start to bend. Well, that's the chain off, front sprocket changed. So far so good. Next is to change the rear sprocket, which means removing the rear wheel, which is on the right hand side, 21mm. I use a socket because there's not much space for a spanner in there. And it's 18mm this side if you need to hold it. Mine's never needed to be like held, and the best way to do this is get a boot on there. So, tap, 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 remove, and then put something under the wheel to take some of the weight off your arms a bit at the front there. And waggle, 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 waggle. And of course there's no chain to get in the way now, so it's a case of sliding it backwards, and then the brake falls away. And all your spacers. There we are. Okay, to remove the rear sprocket, it's a 14mm spanner on the back and an Allen key on the front, which is 6mm. Be a bit tight to start with. Okay. Watch your hands and your fingers. If you want to wear gloves, do so. So that was the hard way of doing it. This is the easier way. Get your spanner on the back, hold it in with your fingers, get a nylon hammer and do that. And that, much easier. So I'm just comparing this new rear sprocket with the original. Don't worry about these holes being out of alignment, that's Just the spacing of the teeth on this sprockets is different. Same number of teeth, 48. I'm not changing the size of the rear because I like the gearing on this bike for off-road, which is what I'm now using it primarily for. Well, I will be after this. I don't plan on doing any more long trips because I've now got my Himalayan for that. So anyway, this is my local dirt bike. I'm just looking, but look, interesting. This rear sprocket is actually still in very good condition compared to the front. It's amazing. Yeah, there's some wear there, but there's actually the tip of the teeth here is wider on the old one, the original, than the new sprocket. But there is slightly more depth here where the roller goes in, but not much. And there is more of a U shape on it as it's worn in now than this new sprocket. So yeah, I mean, it is worth changing it all at the same time. As you're doing the chain and front sprocket, you do the lot. Now, I've not got the original. I've just decided to, because of where I get the parts online, this is what they provide. So AFAM, I've never heard of it, and there's an arrow for direction of rotation. So that makes life easy, doesn't it? Although you wouldn't think it matters. Of course it will, only because of the fact that you've got to put the chamfer in there for your fixing bolts. Other than that, you put it that way around. So yeah, I think it's pretty useful, but that's the clue, isn't it, really? Anyway, there we go. All I've got to strip this far. Every time I get this wheel off, if I've changed the tyre or done anything, I always like to feel that wheel bearing and see if there's any. It's still fine. It's still original. Same both sides. I mean, when you put the wheel on, there's no play and there's no grating, and that feels fine. So the sprocket's held on with nuts and bolts, and they're self-locking nuts, and they're still gripping the thread well enough, so they're fine. I don't need to change those. And of course, you put the bolt through, and then the nut and the washer and the nut on the back, tying them up. So the torque setting for this is 45 Newton meters, and if you can get a way to get a socket on the back of there, I need a special tool here to do it, which I don't have. I don't have the right adapter, so this is a case of hand tight. And that one, that's staying there. That's not going to go nowhere. Well, rear sprocket on, and the next thing to do is put the wheel back on, fit the chain, but not before I check something else, which is on the Swingarm. Well, I got this off. I did it just in time, I believe, the Swingarm, because here's the rubbing strip for the chain. Here's the old one. Look how badly that is gouged. It's even gone right through and started to wear into the Swingarm. The other side, these grooves here, and this is a new one. See the difference? So just in time to replace that. Should have done it earlier. And while you're doing that, I'm going to replace this rear block here. I've taken the bolts out already, because there's the inside and there's the new one. So this should last another 20,000 kilometers, hopefully. And now I've ordered all these parts and they're here. I'm ready to fit it back again. I've just had a look at this, which I should have done before. And this is worn away as well, which is the complete bracket. It's really all had a good gouging with the chain. So this is all replaceable. This means the whole two sides of the bracket and this block underneath, and maybe that'll be all right, just a bracket, but it'll do for a while. So there's the old chain on the floor, and here's the new one. Arcade Takasago. Premium O-ring, over 3 times longer wear than a standard chain. I wonder what that actually means. Standard chain on what bike? Interesting. Well, it'll probably last longer than my front sprocket, because this chain, I'm just about to compare the two and see how well that chain has lasted. Well, over the same length, there's actually slightly less sideways bend on the old chain than the new one. I'm trying to push it in backwards and forwards, and there's actually nothing there, no play there whatsoever, none at all. See, there's some play like this here. And the rollers, to me, I mean, those rollers look pretty good to me. Sideways bend, it's the same. In fact, there's more on this new chain. That feels looser there. So there is a difference in length. It's stretched about the length of one link over the whole life that it's been on the bike. That's why I had to keep adjusting it. And that was my concern about needing the feel of changing it, because it just kept needing adjusting more and more frequently. I thought, well, is this stretching? So obviously it is worth to be changing it, although it looks pretty darn good actually. Okay, to put this wheel back on, if you've not done it before on this bike, there's two spaces at the back. There's a wide one, which goes on the left here, and a narrower one on the right. And then it's a case of juggling all this forward and fitting it in through the brakes. And obviously your brake caliper fits in that slot. It has to all line up with your bolt, your axle shaft as it goes in. It's a fiddly job. Now, I've got this stripped down this far. I decided it's worth taking the brake pads out and give everything a good servicing and clean up, and it's much easier to put the wheel back on without the brake pads. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to film it. It's just a fiddly job. It either goes straight in or you're fiddling about all day with your spaces falling out. It's one of them jobs. So it's worth having your link ready, prepared to put it together. Get the O-rings on one side, ready to push it through from the back, and get grease on there as is provided. Now that's on hand, ready to push through. So that was just a case of messing about, fiddling around with it, the adjusters, until you can get this link in from the back. So that's greased up. Push that in. And now get the O-rings on this side and greased up. Very sloppy grease. Okay, make sure they stay there. Get your outer plate on. Here's where the fun part starts, because you've got to compress all this now and pin these rivets over using the rivet tool here. So we're going to assemble this onto here and then start squeezing in. And it's important to measure the diameter of these rivets, these pins, because you want this to be the same. This is where the engineering comes in. So they're approximately 5.5 millimeters on average. Around, I've measured a few. 5 is just too tight. So as long as when I pin mine over, they're the same size as that, we should be good. So it's a case with this clamp, because you have to squeeze this tight, and you're squashing the rubber seals, of course. So you clamp the outer first to squeeze one over one rivet, and then you can then tighten in there to squeeze and open up the rivet at the end there, and then you check it, measure it, and that's still pretty slack on there, and then you move it along, then you clamp the next one, tighten it, and then tighten up the center, open the rivet, and then measure that, Now I found obviously you need to be in gear is better, and you've got to have it off the sprocket itself, and I've used this cinch strap here, and it's just squeezing the chain together so there's less slack when you're tightening on it. Just makes it a bit easier. And that's working, and it's coming together nicely. So it's a bit fiddling about now, tightening it a bit, take it off a bit, check how it's repeating over. I might get a longer Allen key. So we've got a problem. I'm supposed to flare these ends out to the same as this, which is 5.5 millimeter, and these are at 5 and they're a bit loose. That's back on 5 there, whereas these, there's only 0.5 millimeter in it, but apparently that measurement is critical. And this is the tool I've been using. It's a new tool. I got it off XL Moto, and it's just not doing the job. As you can see, it's bent here, and I've tried and tried and tried, and that has just stopped going any further. The tool is bending. So I've now got another tool, and I'm hoping this is tougher. So let's see if this will do the job. So here we go. Just fits nicely. Just fits nicely. No sideways play. Perfect. Spot on. 5.5 millimeter. The right tool for the job. Just to show a close-up of these rivets, or the end of the pins which have been pinned over. These are made in manufacture. Measured to an average of 5.5 millimeters, and these are the ones I've pinned over, so they're nice, lovely fit. And that's it. There's not much in it, but it's really important. So that's it. New chain and sprockets done. Only thing left to do now, do the chain tension. Okay, so I've got the bike on the side stand. Both lock nuts are undone, and the measurement is 30 to 40 milliliters of movement between top and bottom play here. And I made this little gauge out of an aluminium bar, and it's got 10 millimeters between each line. It's not an exact ruler, but there's movement of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. That's 50 millimeters of travel, way too much. So now just got to gently wind back, bit at a time, and double check, because it doesn't take much of a movement on there to change the chain. So I've adjusted that till it's 30 millimeters, about 35. That'll do for starters. I'll just make sure the other side's on the same marking here on the back, lock it up, and then once it's gone for a ride, double check the chain tension, because I'm sure it'll bed in and stretch a little bit. So there's another thing you'll find with this bike anyway, is look, these markings for adjusting your chain tension are virtually non-existent. It's so vague. It's not true, but this is the good side. Look at the other side. I mean, it's actually in the paint, and that's chipped away there. So where else is there to gauge from? It's very approximate, and there's nothing here where you'd expect it to be. So it's got to be just a bit done by eye, to the best of my ability. The torque setting for the rear wheel nut is 75 Newton meters. Okay, so whenever you change something, there's always a consequence, isn't there? So I've got now the 15 tooth sprocket on, which is a slightly bigger diameter. Now I'm trying to get this piece back in here, which I imagine is some form of chain guard, which should fit under the cover. And it won't go back in there. And I would have thought that was there for a reason, and I would have thought it was quite an important reason. But that guard there would normally protect this in some way. So I've decided to take some of this down with a file. It's a small vise thinner, half-round file. It's taken me about half an hour, taken quite a bit away to get it to fit in, but it does fit now. So that's it fitted. Still a little bit of a tight squeeze to get it past the chain here, but once it's in, it's clearing. So I'll put the cover on, give it a spin round, see how it goes. Well, that sounds good to me. And I've just been for just a short ride around town, just a couple of kilometres really at the most. And I had to come back and adjust the chain. I just went and got some fuel and back, and that was it. So that should be good for a while now. So that's it. It's all done. It's all running. I've had a good ride on it and it's working well. I'll just keep my eye on the tension every now and then. Yeah, well, hope you got something out of that, and thank you for watching. May you all live long and ride on.